What's up, guys? It's your boy, GRC, Crypto in the Morning, live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern. They told me it would be hard. Oh, fuck, I got the YouTube on. Damn, I was locked in for a second. Guys, how is everyone doing? I'm going to get to the chat real quick. I almost went off a tangent, and I'm kind of glad I got caught back. Red Squirrel, yes, Larry in the house. That is correct. Larry is in the house. And he is full of piss and vinegar this morning. And me and Sam are excited to learn about everything. You know, we're a little bit newer to the scene. Everyone that's been around knows a lot about Kryptokoolaid. I've watched a lot of his stuff. Extremely insightful, like to the point where you're just like, what the fuck? He gives you that little feeling of like, whoa, I have no idea what's going on. I like Kool-Aid. There's grape flavor, strawberries, and orange. Does anyone know the date when RH Twitter about what to do in case if you're MF stupid, dumb F and sacrifice from exchange? If you did that, then you're probably screwed at this point, but I would check with the Hex Security chat on that one on the Telegram, t.me/Hex Security. Howdy from Montana, Hexdeck, absolutely amazing person. Hexdeck, love him. Can't. Paul Sachs, PVM Crypto, everybody here. Producer Bullish is not in the office at the moment. I haven't talked to him yet today. I was running a little bit all over the place this morning, and then Kool-Aid just texted me and cooled me right off. He cooled me right off. He was like, "You guys some time? I want to talk," because I've been begging him. You know, God knows I've been in his DMs every morning. Guys, we have 1 minute and 9 seconds. DeFi proof, Crypto in the Morning, official banger of the summer.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stay. Got me some hedge and I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim ready sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning. 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 Crypto in the morning.
Bam.
Yo, what's good, man? I am looking forward to this conversation today with Kool-Aid. I don't have any context of who this guy is, so it'll be interesting to learn about the graphic portion of what he's doing or how he designs this kind of stuff and basically how he thinks. I enjoy understanding how people think about things, and he's done some cool projects, it looks like. So it'll be great talking with him. How you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing good. It's Sunday. Sundays are always for the Lord. So you know me, devout. No, I'm just kidding. No, guys, no offense, of course, to anyone. I'm doing good. You know, I'm a little bit foggy this morning, but I'm excited. You know, I was watching the UFC fights last night, so I stayed up just a hair later than I generally do. But when Crypto Kool-Aid DM'd me, it made all the pain go away.
What's going on, Al?
Whoa! What up, brother? How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Let's see, we got some awesome people in there. Crypto Sloth, Red Squirrel, Power Excellence, Narda for the win! Hex Tech. Yeah,
all
good
the big
fucking people.
brainers are coming today. All the big brainers want in.
What's up, White Dog?
Guys, it's so good to see you.
Looks like a couple people have actually been asking to get your thoughts on that, like Iacocca or whatever.
Oh, fantastic! Wow.
You want to? I saw.
Wait, Sam. Before we do that, that's the first topic, though. We'll go first. Topic,
yeah.
Crypto Kool-Aid.
Tell us
all
about
the millennial dorks that think they got it going on. Tell them who you are.
Shit. Basically, I'm a level architect and visual storyteller, which means that I compose the shots for games and movies. But I had my pedigree and teeth cut at Arcane, which is the highest systemic game studio in the world. Stupid complex shit. But you're basically building real systems that talk to other real systems that talk to other real systems, and everything programmatically hashes against what your experience is. And so when you learn to see through that lens or glean through that eye, you start to look at the underlying footprints of what things work in. You look at the underlying gears on how things work, because the reality is fake reality is a lot harder to build, because in real reality, people are lazy. They have an excuse. In a programmable systemic world, it has to work. There is no excuse.
That's a really interesting point. Me and Sam always kind of talk about that. It's like, as we learn more about cryptos and make it through it, it's like, first things first, that thing has to work to survive a 95% dump. If it does not
it's not
work,
just even the 95% dump, like you guys were talking about yesterday with making your super persona, or like what is it? Beast
that conversation
from the Marvel movie or something like that, right? 2 different personas. I was a telemarketer for 5 years outbound, and you have to put a mask on to go to work. And then whatever happens and get projected to you, that goes at your mask. And at the end of the day, you take your mask off and you put it down.
Do you live in that reality any longer?
No. I mean, that was a long time ago.
No, I mean the reality of like having to put a mask on for work, or do you just?
Well, the question is like, what are you doing with your time? How do you value your use case? So before I went into game dev, I was a truck driver. I rode at Hurricane Katrina in a semi truck. I've been chased down by moose in the top of French Canada on the side of a fucking mountain. And like, you immediately have to put a fight, flight, and survive mechanism into how you handle your situations, whether that's literal physical, or that's how you handle yourself to close the deal, coffees for closers. So like all of those sub realities on what you do make things work. It's the reason why, for example, if you pay $200 for a CrossFit membership, you go because it's expensive. It has a commonality that makes it work. Otherwise, a Planet Fitness for $20, you're just like, Netflix membership.
And there's always that 1% of guys that'll use the resources they have they're generally smart guys. You know, that would be more so my style. Like, I'd like to milk it as much as I can, but I know the general sentiment as well.
I mean, you pay that money for also camaraderie, right? Because everyone wants to cheer you on and all the rest of that stuff. So that camaraderie,
there's social parts to it. I mentioned to guys a lot. I go to the most expensive gym in my area, mainly because I don't speak to humans. Otherwise, that's like my only time that I can talk to people, because I just don't like to fucking.
I know you seem to be streaming a lot these days.
Yeah, no, I talk to this thingy, but I'm a sales guy, and I'm on feet sales guy, and I did a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm so used to every single day I was interacting with 6 to 7 to 8 random different people that I never met. I just knew on the phone. So it was my whole life absolutely switched. I am a microcosm of Sam Bullish and myself, basically, to an extent, and that's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to find guys that I really respected and I could emulate and just talk to them instead of these random buffoons in the streets.
Sure.
No.
Well, the thing is about the buffoon problem is it has the same problem about people being lazy, is that people will always choose the most convenient way out for the most case, unless they have a passion, fire, or drive to do more or less. And so when you look at the commonality,
does that happen to everyone with the stuff that they don't like as well? Like, so everyone knows, like, I'm very passionate about this and I'll double down and work really hard. But do some people learn how to take care of everything in the same way, like in a respectful way, or does everyone have those weak points in your opinion?
Well, I mean, Richard Bach says every problem has a reward in its completion. What you do with those rewards is up to you. He also says that every problem has a reward that you need. You draw those problems to you because you need those lessons. So do you want a convincing, easy way out, or do you want a challenging way in? So the most universal microcosm of film theory is called the hero's journey, or hero of 1,000 faces. And you have a reluctant hero that's forced into a situation, and it sucks. He kind of gets better. He has a mentor. It gets better and better and better. He thinks he's doing good, and then he gets slammed way the fuck back down. And then from there, it's called the belly of the beast. And that's where you have the Rocky montage where you're fucking running up the steps, or like all the rest of that type of stuff.
That's so
The
funny.
Adrian moment, right? So you have to have it taken away from you again when you think you almost have it, to really build cold steel, to fold it over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
that's
And that's how
like
you really refine an edge.
that's when my moment was when I figured out all the crypto stuff in my mind. I figured out Hex game theory in my mind, and then I got hacked for everything I was worth. And I was like, and I didn't know security yet. I didn't know anything about security yet. I
I'll
just
teach you
didn't go.
my sovereign triple encryption theory.
I know, but at the
through.
time, but listen, this is crazy. This is a really crazy story. Because at the time that was worth roughly $45,000 what I lost when I lost it. Total. It was a half stake, so some of that money would have not been realized for years. But and I lost it, and nobody knew that the market was going to be. You can't know, right? You can never know. So I was like, this could have been my last chance ever to get, like, I didn't know if it was going to go to $1. And I took the L, and I went to bed that night like a baby. I didn't give a fuck. I decided not to care. I decided that it made no real difference in my life. And guess what? I bought that same amount times 3 since then.
See, and you learned a lot more since then. So look at it this way. You got a quick lesson of the 2017-2018 bull bear fiasco from ICOs,
so grateful.
Ponzi's. You have to actually get screwed to learn something. Again, I just said it in the hero's journey. You have to be smacked down right when you think you have it to go to the belly of the beast. And then from there, being at rock bottom again, you already knew where you came from because you already walked there. So that vision on the high on the prize, you can see it.
I always tell people, I remember sitting in that halfway house with 12 heroin addicts. You believe me not? I do remember. I remember being there, and I remember being the youngest guy there, the smallest guy there, the most inexperienced guy there in every single way. And I remember thinking to myself, my life will never get better. There's no way. And then I made it through all of that shit. 6 years, never touched a drug, never touched a drink because I was in so much court trouble that I was scared to. My hindsight was telling me, don't you dare fuck this up, boy. They're going to lock you up and you're going to get booty banged, boy. Because down here, the jails suck. Like, they're not, it's booty bang central down here for white boys like me. And
now I see why you work on your squats so much.
Yeah, I got to make sure I can clench the steel of 1,000 warriors. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I tell people that story because I already made it through the worst part of my life. This is like fucking bullshit.
This is so easy for you.
F you stupid shit compared to, like, I hope these guys don't kill me. I hope these guys don't kill me. I hope these guys don't kill me. I hope these guys don't rape me. I hope they're not actually dangerous. I hope they're all talk like that. Those were the conversations I was having myself as I had to interview in front of like some 30-year-old, 300-pound black guy to see if I could live in their house and pay them to live there because I was in so much court trouble that I knew this was the only way that they would, they tell you, like, if you do a couple things, they'll take it easier on you. And, I just followed all the rules. I said, and, I made it through all of that. And on the other side, all this stuff seems rather petty. All these people complaining on the internet about Richard's not giving me all the free money I ever wish I had. And the timeline that I wish I had it in a system that drops 95%. And he tells you that every fucking week. It's like, I wish some people had felt more pain.
I think that's again, it's that coming back from that reality. Like when I was a truck driver, I drove 11 hours a day. I'm an undercover student for 7 hours a day. I slept for 3, rinsed, repeat, did that for 2.5 years. So after you've worked 120 hours a week for 2.5 years, everything else is kind of ludicrous. I mean, I'm not going to like pass out at my computer and get stabbed by a Wacom pen in the eye, but like, it gives a different sense of reality of what's possible, what you can deal with, and how far you can stretch yourself, which isn't the healthiest thing in the world, but it does give you an added ability to leverage what you can and cannot do.
Was there ever
Are you a hexacon or a hexacont?
What was that time for you, Sam, where you just were like, this shit don't matter no more? Like, I know I know you're not the most emotional guy. You never have been, as far as from when I've met you, but you were a bit older when you weren't a child when I met you.
When I was like 17, going on 18, I did some stupid shit and I was in jail for 6 months. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna do this again, right? Because I'd have my parents come and visit, and the first time they came and visit, and they're crying just because they're disappointed, right? And I was
scared.
disappointed.
They're probably
in myself.
scared too.
I was just fucking pissed at myself, and I was like,
You weren't even scared. You were just like, I gotta sit here for 6 months.
I was so pissed. I was just fucking enraged. I wouldn't even talk to anybody when I was in there. I would just stay in my cell. And I was like, I'm not going to fucking do this. Like, this is ridiculous. And
you were a hefty enough a guy that people probably wouldn't poke around with you just by circumstance, right?
Correct.
So you can kind of just keep to your shit.
And nobody's gonna fuck with you if you're just,
well, unless you're in like LA County or something, like in normal ass jail, like you're fucking straight. But if you go to a certain jail, like you'll be throwing hands just to get through the door. You know what I mean?
There was definitely a bunch of fights in there, but I just kept to myself.
I'm so glad I didn't have to go into like any Gen Pop or anything like that. Sam, I did all those things the guy told me to, like the halfway house for 2 years. And they gave me weekends because I did that. But I had a bad charge, dude. Like I had to do everything. Like for 6 years, I did not drink alcohol. And I was a child. I wanted to drink alcohol. You know what I mean? And I went to AA meetings 3 times a fucking day for a year straight. 3 a day. Day. And they told me I should do that for the rest of my life. I was like, y'all are fucking crazy.
Well, the thing is, you want to replace one bit of therapy for something else. Like, but at that point, it's easier to go to a meeting to listen to other people's problems because it alleviates the lazy part, but it doesn't give you the focus part, which would be take one bad habit and replace it with a good habit.
And I also was under. Let me rephrase that, because there's people that really struggle with alcohol and that changes their life, and that did change my life to a large degree. Seeing all of that stuff. I was not suffering from a lot of the same things. I was suffering from a case of the doctors put me on so much fucking medication when I was 12 that I had no idea what my actual body felt like. I was in a full flight from reality my whole life. And I have told my parents that I was upset with them about that they did facilitate that, whether they like it or not, they did. And I had no choice. I was on Zoloft. I was on all this shit just because I wouldn't shut the fuck up. I was pissed. I was excited. I wanted to fuck girls. I wanted to run around. I wanted to play kickball. I wanted to do drugs with my friends. I wouldn't stop. And I never listened to any rules ever. And, I made the terms for my life. Those terms aren't allowed in that life. So I just created that life now, but it took a while because
the 2 golden rules is always survive and never get caught. And that's divided by, it's not peer pressure. It's just your turn.
Yeah.
You do those well, you'll be all right.
How do you go through and create the hero's journey in a game? Or are you so not creating the whole like hierarchy of the game? It's more so, hey, this level, this position, this picture, whatever needs to be created.
Well, you got to first realize, like at most game studios, you're dealing with at least 100 to 200 people. There's that many multiple tiers of jobs and positions, and then 80% is done through outsourcing too. So no one man does the whole machine. But like at the end of the day, you want to create something visceral, whether you consider visceral bad or good, it's memorable. You want something that you can taste when you walk away. And the hero's journey is technically the journey of the soul. It's the journey of any religion. It's the journey of any human. And the evolution of a journey is how many lifetimes do you go through in one lifetime? And if you believe in that hippy dippy reincarnation stuff, then
we were talking about yesterday.
No, it's good stuff. I'm huge into theosophy. I served on the altar for 7 years. I can do the Roman Catholic Mass in Latin. I've studied a fuck ton of different religions, but dogma is not theosophy. Theosophy is between you and you. When white man spaghetti Jesus, because there was no white people back then in that area, said that not my will, but thy will be done. He's actually talking to you, not God. And so when you think about that commonality of saying yes, that's really what it is. Argue your limitations, and sure enough, you will have them. Yes,
it's
if you
crazy.
say you
Me
can't,
and Sam argue our limitations all day long. I'm like, we just want to. I just shoot higher every day. Anything I can think of that's higher, I just want to do it because I just realize how few people there really are as competition. There's only a few guys out there in my exact position that have the same opportunity that I do, that don't have anything to do with their time other than focus 100% on their passion and their purpose. And I know that I can leverage that because that's just a rare opportunity. And I've put myself through all that shit.
But really, the only real competitiveness you have is to yourself.
Yes.
Other people are leverage bases or levies that you balance and look at your scaling and or weight as it shifts. Now, it can have inspiration. It can have hindrances. But really, the devil is the demon on your shoulder. Devil's advocate. Look, but don't look, but don't touch. Touch, but don't taste. Taste, but don't enjoy. You limit yourself by the passions of your fruit and are also held back by said fear hindrances that needs to be supplemented or divided by courage, conquering, and the ability to let go.
That's the ability to let go.
It's the hardest part.
And acceptance. That's
Yep.
it's incredible.
I was begging Sam for help with this while I was going through
Well,
it.
you guys know each other.
He's my life coach, but I've never met him.
Oh,
But I got him into Hex. I got him into Hex about 100 and I got him to start researching DeFi basically about 110 days ago now. And ever since he's been making videos every single day, and we've done a stream every single day. And he knows more about crypto than 95% of the people that I talk to that have been in crypto for a long time.
But how long did you guys been talking to each other?
I think I reached out to him on the internet roughly 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago for the first time. And then I just would call him and ask him if I could pay him for an hour of his time to learn about bodybuilding, because I just wanted to learn about bodybuilding at the time. I had more income probably. And he did that. And then I liked the way he just noticed I had hangups with all this emotional stuff all the time. And I noticed that he didn't.
And the acceptance stuff.
I just noticed that he wasn't struggling to sit in that moment. And I was fighting to get to that moment of the day. And he was not fighting. And I just, ever since then, I just asked him, how do I be honest with people? How do I, how can I open up to everyone? How, little things that adults go through, right? Like, and then he just taught me his story because he did it years before.
Well, but that's the whole, like, looking at footsteps in the sand or ley lines on the road. As an older person, you have the opportunity to fuck up. And every problem, again, has a reward by fucking up. You never actually mess up if you do something once. Again, you got hacked. You didn't fuck up. You learned your lesson. Never going to do shit again. Never going to click shit again. And it's easier to do that when you lose 40K than 400 million.
And when you're 28 years old and you don't have a wife and you don't have 3 houses or a child and whatever business, I have nothing to pay for. I could take any L and just work my way back up for it in probably 3 or 4 months because I just don't have that much overhead. You know what I mean? Like there's just not that much there because of my house hacking, etc. I'm going to switch the subject real quick to something that Sam's going to just start loving, you're going to love. And I want to talk about Hedron, but I want to start a little bit early and then we're going to work on to ISCO. If you have learned about that, which I'm sure Alex reached out to you about that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it. Actually, I just brushed up on coffee stuff, but I was talking to Alex on the phone the other day. But it's super interesting. Let's get started on where you want to delve into.
First, I want everyone to retweet this post, if you don't mind. If you are enjoying this content, please like the content. Please follow all the links below. Me and Sam are live. We're on Twitter every single day. We are covering crypto all day long, and we're not hiding away from that. We want to do that. I want to learn everything as much as I can, but I don't put my money into other stuff. So it's kind of I'm in a neutral position because I'm just a study whore. But I'll jump on something and I want to learn and I want to create. And I just like you guys were saying with the hero's journey, I've experienced that is the human consciousness. I've experienced some of that, and it's almost automatic if you just get into a bunch of fucking trouble and survive it. But anyway, share this link. I want to talk about Hedron. When did you first think about the idea that Hedron eventually captured?
Oh, well, so first, hold on one sec. Richard Bach's Illusions, where I pull most of my quotes. So first you have to really understand what an NFT is. And then first you have to really understand the history of the internet. So I call people fax machine maximalists because back in the day we had fax machines and then dial-up internet came out and people are like, why am I using this? Why am I using this email thing? But you have to really realize before fax machine maximalism, there was carrier pigeon maximalism. So understanding how things evolve and how things wrap is vastly, vastly, vastly important. So what is really an NFT? An NFT is just a social security number. I have a social security number. I live in an apartment. That is my address or my wallet. Now I could have a roommate. So 2 people can be living in my apartment and both have different social security numbers. We can have partners. We can fucking make a baby. That is a sub NFT or 2 different other blended social security numbers. That kid can go to college and get a degree. That is an attachment, which is also included in its social security number or its NFT. And that sub NFT can interact on oracles, DAOs, and other interoperability use case solutions. So if you first understand that, then you can also understand that the wrapper or the NFT part of it is wrapping around a social security number or an identity. And then from there, use casing that identity to give privilege, access, yields, or interoperability, anything. I mean, it's the same thing of shit. Let's just say you have to have 3 people to sign off on a deed, right? So it's multiple different things that need to happen to give authenticity to what you're trying to accomplish in turnkey, right? It's the reason why, I mean, obviously I've never served in the military, but they have those things where you have to turn 2 different keys at the same time to launch the missile, right?
Well, just multi-sig, yeah.
So if you
That was
look
a
at
beautiful. Thank you for that. For me personally, that was a beautiful way of describing such event, the NFT from a.
wait, no, it's a wrapper. Remember, so like if we roll back to my carrier pigeon fax machine maximalism stuff, if the petrock.com had not happened, the bedrock wouldn't have fallen, that anything that survived the .com bubble wouldn't have superseded. Look at Amazon. They were a digital book library before the .com bubble. Now one of the richest companies in the world. So you have to understand, like right now we're dealing with pet rocks as NFTs, but when the bubble boils down, then you really start to see the interoperability. So I haven't got talked with mad people for a while, but I helped them out. And I came up with this simple fucking idea that start off with the thesis that you have an unlimited amount of money and you wanted to fix the lead in Flint, Michigan. Nobody cares about those kids bathing in lead anymore. They don't. It was a big thing 10 years ago. They're still bathing in lead. Now, if you wanted to fix that, you have to fix the plumbing, which means you have to literally go in and pull the pipe out, right? Because that's the problem, the pipe. Well, if you're already there, why don't you drop high-range fiber optic Wi-Fi through the whole roads? If you're already there, why not? Well, if you're already there and you got to fill up the hole that you just dug, why not take all the roads and put the little hexagonal solar panels that actually like generate that stuff? And since it's already attached to a high-range fiber optic Wi-Fi, you can do something like Power Token from 2017, 2018. No idea if it's still around, but it takes electricity from the grid and disperses it against the network to see what you're charging. But in this case, it would be the city. So while you're there, if you're already making a road that has all the solar panels to generate electricity and has the internet already attached to it, we already charge our toothbrushes wirelessly. Wireless charging of phones can be done. Why don't you charge the EVM cars that are on the road? And then the interoperability of those cars, those cameras, and all the rest of that would also go onto the internet, which would be an asset that the city can have charge for and utilize, and then start the trippings of a super city. The only problem is what happens when you do that? All those kids that you were trying to save in poverty will be gentrified. How do you solve that? Easy. At the minting of Flintopia, everyone that exists there is an NFT. So security number that has an address. The city people that exist there earn yield off of the future Flintopia of what they're trying to do. And if you sell your house, because technically at this point, we're using a decentralized way to optimize. We know what you're doing. So we know where your wallet is and we know what you're going through, right? So if you sell or leave Flintopia, your NFT gets burned. So that way you prevent the ability for Oracle, Google, Apple, and all the rest of them to come buy in a swath. And so with that same kind of mentality, due to capitalism, multiple cities will fucking take this up and they'll compete with each other for the best rates.
It's already happening, isn't it? To a degree.
I mean, it depends. I don't think anything is taking it that seriously.
Yeah. Have you seen EVMOS?
More or less social securityizing an entire city and playing through it. But
have you seen EVM? Have you heard of EVMOS?
Mm-mm.
I was just wondering because it's on Cosmos. there's a lot of stuff that people send me stuff all day long. So I look at a
I was
lot.
an ICO influencer in 17, so I don't deal with that shit anymore.
People just send me random stuff, and whenever I'm bored, I look into it, and a lot of it has that city compound to it. Like
But we're not there yet, though. The problem is that like it is the future, but just like telling someone that was a fax machine or a carrier pigeon maximalist that they wouldn't have to ride the Pony Express and send off their birds to deliver letters, you could just do it with a fax. But here's the question: what's the difference between a fax machine and an email?
The interface?
No.
I don't know.
Sam.
I mean, there's a lot of shit that's different.
Yeah, please. Please. What's the difference?
The biggest thing for me would be like speed and the amount of data that you could transfer.
Close. Data transfer is correct. The attachment feature of an email.
Speed is tremendous though. Like
no. Hold on.
Pigeon versus a fax machine, or a fax machine versus email.
PC load letter, baby. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to beat that damn fax machine because it breaks. It only has one throughput, one line that you can go in, and all the rest of it. So yes, the reply all is good, but the attachment feature in an email is actually the NFT.
I see.
Because
that's the only thing they change is that you can add data
that goes through. Correct. So by the evolution of a carrier pigeon, we're gonna put a bird, we're gonna fucking stick a letter in it, and I hope that bird don't die. And then from there, a fax machine says, I don't have to go all the way there to send it.
They know where the bird's going to go.
Huh?
I don't know where the bird's going to go.
Certain trainings.
Oh, yeah. But the thing is, like, when you do carrier pigeons.
Yes.
Well, no, but with carrier pigeons, also, they're shot down, they're taken out, life, so they have to send multiple pings.
I would be the guy that would be hired to BB gun little birds. but I want to just so we don't get too far off because I'm trying to.
Oh, the thing is that understanding Hedron, you have to understand this tangential reality.
Okay.
Even more deeper, because otherwise you're looking at a token, just like looking at a cover of a book, just looking at the packaging, but not knowing what it tastes like.
Everything so you said in the last 20 minutes, I've totally I understand where you're coming from as far as like. This is a tech upgrade, more data, different functionality. And it's like a little bit just like are we taking a step forward? And this is just that happens to be the first person that has, well, this is just with Hex, right? So Hedron is directly.
So Hedron is the first POT, proof of T-shirt.
Oh
yeah. Proof of T-shirt. You're right. Because that's how those all airdrop.
When we're so early in the NFT space, I just view NFTs as just smart contracts. People view them as like pictures and all this shit, but it's just a smart contract, and contracts can be used for anything. And so right now, people are using them to basically
they're non-fungible. So like a smart contract usually means that everything is the same as all, right? With an NFT, they're unique, right? Again, social security number.
But so you can make the same exact contract though, right? Like you could have a smart contract with multiple. So the fungibility is if I choose to create the fungibility of it, right? So
sure. Well, just like if I decide to do a direct mailing, does it go to your physical address and does it say "Dear Resident" or does it say Sam Stolt? Right.
Exactly.
So that's the inherent difference. A normal token would be like "Dear Resident" to go to everyone. The NFT version says "Sam Stolt, offer for you."
So it's just a smart contract.
Yeah, but you can't replicate it with the same value. So it's. If you replicate
that's completely irrelevant. But what were you saying, Sam? There,
my bad.
So you're just saying the nomenclature with the NFT you're talking about is the Sam Stolt address to my house versus the smart contract is the Dear Residents. Is that what your distinction was?
Group mailing. Yep.
Cool. Gotcha.
Yep. Now, and when you start to think about it that way, now you're starting to understand how wrappers work. Because if you had group mailing. And both you all are salespeople, you have your databases that you buy a shit ton of trash through, and you just go, get your one sale of the day, and you're good. So you're going through that trash of Dear Resident, or maybe Dear Person. But once you refine it down to a pure system, you're wrapping something that you know someone wants, right? For example, I got Factor for meals. You know what they put in there? HelloFresh. They're the same company. One is microwave, one is you cook it yourself. So you're using the same etymology of advertising on top of each other. It's wrapping the benefit on top of the benefit.
But
It's
isn't
the
that
same-
so? Isn't that so? Like with a smart contract, is that's the most broad term? NFT is a part of what a smart contract is. It's just like if you want to send group mailing, as you put it, right? So the NFT is one subset of what a smart contract is. So when I view NFTs, it's just a smart contract, just like a bazillion other use cases are going to come out for the smart contract, and we'll call them, PDF. Fucking for the
Sure.
3.0.
Just walk it backwards from the email. It's actually the simplest way to do it. So if an NFT is the attachment on the email itself is the mailer. And then like the broader smart contract is your internet. It is your service provider, right? As you're driving down deeper, you're getting longer into your legs. It's like supersets or something like that.
Yes.
You're actually compounding things on top of each other to use gravity to wind it forward. You have
It's just
like
like
Path's law and Moore's law.
That broad thing though is because if you do anything with contracts, that they're as flexible as fuck, and you could just change them or add clauses or do whatever you want. So this smart contract you can use to create all sorts of NFT things. You can use it to wrap anything you want to do. You can use it for cool shit that we're not even think of, that over the next 24 months, somebody's gonna be like, oh, we could do this and this together and create it and wrap it, right? Using a smart contract to do that. It's like Pandora's box is open.
Not even
right
a smart
now.
contract, just access to your wallet. So I can't always, I'm never allowed to say too much because we're working on a ton of shit in the background. But think about if a thing is in your wallet, it pings just like a Sam's Card membership or a Costco membership or your fast track to get through the airport or your HOV lane. So like not only is that there, but when it's in your wallet, you get all the exclusivity that it has because it's immediately checked. It's your KYC for you, your social security number. That's when people deal with this NFT stuff. They're coming at it from the complete wrong angle. Like the dude that made the pet rock was brilliant. You can still do that. It's still up. You can still buy a pet rock. But I mean, like, why not just go to the riverbed and get your own? Oh, you paid money for it, so it's valuable. And that's inherently the thing, is that when people pay money for something or a good or a service, the more its cost is, people think the higher it's worth. A rock is a fucking rock. Why are you gonna pay $100 for a rock? It doesn't even have googly eyes or something on it fun. But like when you actually like boil that down into its pittance, and again, belly of the beast, back down, builds the bedrock for everything to move forward.
So if I'm trying to understand the way that you're seeing the world, your idea of this is that it has the overlying piece from your point of view seems to be more related to the individual piece of it. I'm seeing it as much broader than that, because I view it as a smart contract. A smart contract's a smart contract that you can make individualized or anything, but it seems to be what you keep coming back to, which is, I'm just trying to understand the way you see the world, right? It seems to be that the individuality of it from your experience or the way that you've been seeing the world that is the piece that you see people not looking at it that way.
Well, it's because they also don't understand how that puzzle piece will work with oracles and DAOs in the future. And again, with my pedigree of building a systemic game world, that's where all this comes from. Like, this is my day job. Like, I can like look at something and unwind it in real time because, again, from the game world, it takes a lot of goddamn time, a lot of testing, and it's good enough. We call it ship it. And ship it's good enough. It means we pass cert, but it doesn't mean that there's not a lot more we can do with that knowledge. And when you build a system that can homogenize against another system, now you can build that seesaw effect, right? And so, like, even if you take that, let's take the seesaw effect, just as a good thought experiment. Access said it on my talk with Wales, and we were talking about the Nixon gold standard. God, it's gotta be about a year ago now. But having two suns. So having two different yield farms hedging against each other with a bridge and all the other RH ecosystems bridged into each other, it doesn't matter. That's like two different Dyson spheres rocking against. And as we build more systems that have interoperability, usability through DAOs, oracles, accessibility, and then better use case for how we deal with the digital future. Because remember, augmented reality, virtual reality, and all the rest of that is still barely on the cusp. We're still dealing with Ma Bell back in the day in curly Q landline phones that had like the 40-foot little thing that you can go like talk back in like the 70s and 80s and all the rest of that. We're still there on how we're going to be using technology and interoperability, because remember, Metcalfe's law and Moore's law push each other faster and faster. Was it Moore's law that everything moves faster as far as capacitors things, so computers get faster on a power of 2, and then Metcalfe's law is that social networks, I believe, compound on a power of 4. So as the social network gets harder and as the technology gets harder, they push harder and harder against each other. Hence why Facebook changed the name to Meta, just to be stupid, right? Because like, what is it?
So it's a double exponential is what you're trying to say, where you have those two laws that are going together, and maybe it would normally look like this, but because they're together, it's going to look more like that. And we're seeing this, like if you look at the furious pace at which shit is getting launched, like we're in this tiny microcosm of the space that we understand in crypto, and there's shit fucking launching basically
every link that I open. I'm like, how is there this many users?
And here, let me give you one that no one's gotten right yet. What is the most important first human commodity?
Sex.
It's not a quick trick. It's not a trick question.
What do you define as a commodity?
You asked me. I'm talking about what is the most important first human commodity.
Well, if you can consider a commodity as some things that are consumable, and
or anything holdable, transferable, usable.
So if you take a broader definition of what a commodity would be than just something that is consumable,
it'd probably be like flesh. It'd probably be like flesh of some sort.
It has something to do with water or food or fire or something.
It has to be like some sort of flesh. Let me think. If I was there by myself with the people, I'd kill someone
and just eat them.
Yeah, if I had to eat someone, we'd probably have to kill someone and eat them.
Yeah,
sure. But let me recap that. Some people will say fire. Fire you can't hold in your hand and transport. Some people will say language. Well, if you're the only person on the island and you're talking to birds and they don't understand you, what use is your language? Some people will say the answer is beasts of burden, or technically horses. Because when we have beasts of burden, you can actually track down the person you're going to go eat and go Mad Max and kill them. You're actually able to till the land to grow your food. You're going to be able to trade your beasts of burden or horses for tithe, and they're also stature. Now, where are horses in today's society? They're in horse-powered machines. Our machines are still the horses. And if you look at a horse now, they are a luxury, no longer a commodity. And the commodity is baked into the other use cases that we do. That is the true essence of evolution. The horses are still there. They have evolved. They have carrier pigeoned to dial up, right? So they're still there. It's just people don't have to feed them, water them, bath them down, and store them. In fact, that's more expensive than what their use is, because a tractor is going to fucking till shit more than Amish people going Gundam style with their little plows. So,
but it's also like at this point that there's like you said, horses are a luxury. Like my stepmom has a couple horses, and you think about like how she treats her horses, and it's better than how some humans live. Like just like that. It's
you want to be my cats are the best treated fucking 30-pound panthers in the world. But my point is that the most important thing that humans had to evolve, because you needed the horse to travel to get your language. You needed to go to do all these things. They're just now baked into our machines, and we don't think about it. We're using our lazy lizard brain. That the most important part of our evolution was actually the beast of burden. And that new beast of burden is interoperability, is taking out all the middlemen and all the farce, and actually allowing technically capitalism for the poor or socialism for all to happen. That's really the difference, because both of those terms are really dirty because they've been abused. But it's not like America isn't capitalism for the rich. So let's be fucking real.
It is.
The democracy is no longer a democracy. It's capitalism for the rich.
We all know that here very intimately.
No, of course. But
yes.
that's the thing.
No, I know. I'm not saying for you. I just mean in general, like as I've been learning, and like it's like that is, if the people that don't understand that, those are just the people that I cannot really speak with.
Well, but they're also the people that questioned, why do we want to use an email over a fax machine? They're stuck in the rut. They can't get out, and they haven't evolved because they know their system will not work. What
And
happens in their
they were the
systems is they
same
get
people that were
blockbusters.
wondering why phones needed to scale out of your house. Like, it's like
Why, it's wireless. My cord works fine. Okay, so this is cool. Very interesting. I like the approach.
So wrap it back to Hedron then.
Yes, and I think on a broader level that you could actually tie this into using smart contracts as an adoption tool, because that's what's going to play out. People want to be in the rut, so you just make a smart contract for that fucking rut, and then you move on to the next rut of people's thinking, and you put a fucking smart contract together for that one to increase adoption. But please talk about Hedron, because I'm enjoying the different perspectives.
Sure. Well, it's all understanding the likes of ideals and not this shiny token system that somebody put it in a white paper and did a thing. So Hedron inherently of itself is a proof of T-share way for you to not only use their contract to stake, but then leverage out your position and then do different aspects. But it also, since it's a shadow of an echo of a T-share, and I've said this a long time ago, it needs at least the amount of time for a steam engine to catch up, right? If you take a steam engine, it has to build the compression to actually make it go forward. But how do you get that caboose to move as far as the fucking engine? The engine has to pull it, enough time has to go for the caboose to catch up. So if it took 2 years for a T-share to go from X, Y, and Z to where it is today, then equally with the caboose analogy would take that same amount of time. Now, the problem is that there's too much supply with not enough use case right now in Hedron. So what the Akasa is doing, and it's building a burner or a little Pac-Man that's going to wanna.
Real quick, Kool-Aid, can you, because there's going to be, we touched on a previous video, but there's going to be a boatload of people who have no idea what Akasa is. Can you just give a quick paraphrase, a synopsis of what Akasa is doing before getting into the semantics of it? Because I think that will probably be helpful for some of the people who are listening, because they've probably never heard of it before.
Sure. Well, the thing is, actually, I haven't really looked into it too much, because I've got another thing I want to do with Alex, do the same prospect. The only thing you really need to understand is take that train analogy. Hedron needs at least the amount of time for a T-share to be as valuable as a T-share, because what you're doing is you're future buying a wrapped NFT of a future T-share. So you have to look at, as the train moves forward and scales forward, right? It took this long for a T-share to get to where it is now. When I started, it was like $30 for a T-share. So now we're way, way, way stronger in that. And so when that goes forward, the T-share has got exceptionally 2 years more further. And then Hedron, the caboose, catches up to where that is. The value of buying a T-share 2 years earlier is like buying a $30 T-share. So that time needs to happen. Problem is the bonus gave a little too much leverage for people to dump. So what you need to do is put a burn mechanism to counter it. And that's what basically Akasa is doing, is putting a burn mechanism within a systemic environment that allows it to not only consume, burn, immediately buy, release, and let it liquidate and basically obfuscate itself. It does more things, but I barely got a chance to look into it.
Basically, what it does in just like a broad sense is it just, if you were just like doing the pitch, you would just say this is adding Hedron staking and in other additional functionality. Like, that's really all you could say is the pit. Like, it adds Hedron staking and additional functionality. But what it does is it eventually would just make more hex be held up within.
No, that's actually completely the wrong direction. So as almost anyone that's an OG knows, it literally takes you 6 months to really understand a T-share, really ratchet it in. It takes a long time. Even if you have a good mentor, it takes a long time to really, really figure it out. Hedron is incredibly more complex because it's building complexity around a T-share. So like, you kind of really have to first get and understand that to really understand something else. And again, it's very much like a Dyson sphere built around a T-share. So
do you want to explain what a Dyson sphere is?
Sure. A Dyson sphere is basically, I forget the dude that invented it, but it's basically where you take a sun, like you're doing like a Gen 3 civilization, that they take a sun and encapsulate it. because like all the energy from the star is being diluted as it goes towards your planet, your solar system, et cetera, et cetera. If you actually put the solar panels directly on top of it, that's the most iconic and best way to actually graft the energy off of a star. And so what Hedron is doing is it's adding wrapped interoperability based on a T-share, right? So
What's your definition of interoperability? So you just the tradability of a T-share? Is that what you mean by
tradability, usability, accessibility, prestige? That you could take it any other way. What if you had a particular T-share account and you could get any flight for free or anything like that? But then how do I trade, use, transfer, or do anything else with that if I have too many? Or I want to do something else. Maybe I have a particular staking ladder and I want to transfer them to my children, right? Like, you know what I mean? Let's just say you have a will. Let's say I'm a hex gajillionaire and I die, but it's all under one housed wallet. How would that liquidate down? And let's just say I'm stupid enough, 35 kids. How would I actually fragment that out?
That would be tough.
Go through a trust, go through an attorney. That each time it unstakes, it gets divvied out. Or if you actually can wrap and piece it apart. So like back in, what was it, 2012, everyone always assumed I was into Bitcoin early because I've been building computers since I was 12 and like most of my life. And I was busy doing the film shit. But in 2012, Bitcoin was $1,000 and I have $250,000 in student loans. Expensive as fuck for me. But I didn't realize that Bitcoin was a fractionalized asset because I thought I had to have the grand up front. I didn't have a grand. But if I would have realized that I could have just put in $100 a paycheck at 2012, I would have had the tactile knowledge, the muscle memory being in the ground, in the jungle, that I would have invested in ETH at launch because I would have understood it, right? It's kind of like we were talking about fasting, calisthenics, and all the rest of that type of stuff. At the end of the day, most people start at Planet Fitness. So you don't have that advanced tactileness. So let's roll back to Hedron again. So if you're dealing with Hedron, you're dealing with a wrapped interoperability that allows you to take a stake, make a stake, but then do shit with it. The problem is too many whales have dumpable things and there's not enough to do with it yet. So it's like they're just throwing pennies into the fucking wishing well and it's overloading everyone else, but they just have so many pennies because there's nothing to do with it yet. Normally it would have taken that 2 years to get there, but everyone's freaking out because it's only been 100 days. I'm like, I told you 2 years. But like I was talking with Roy, the captain, a long time ago, probably before I built his background, way before Big Payday, on how you could wrap, make games, do all sorts of interesting things in Hex. And Alex is the first person that actually released a POT, proof of T-share, right? I can design anything, but I'm not a coder.
It's crazy. You can use that concept for a lot of different things if you have, you know, you can use the T-share, you know, the proof of T-share or the proof of B-share, and then you could have,
weight.
you could have a fitness game associated with it.
I was actually not going to suggest that on stream because I wanted you to come up with that and do that yourself. And no one run with it. But yeah,
well, you know, a lot of people send me that kind of like word here, word there.
How you would do that is you would collateralize yourself into a pool, but you would also need a sponsor theoretically to do it. So that way it's not just your own money, but it's the marshmallow game for yourself. It's again why you pay $200 for a CrossFit gym. You definitely want to go every fucking day because otherwise,
and there's no showers. There's never showers. There's never showers at a CrossFit gym. I'm like, y'all have, that's disgusting. Never once in history has there been a CrossFit gym that actually had a shower.
No. Mine did, but it was more of a drawstring thing. So
I'm paying $200 a month. Let me get a shower.
No, because it's primal though. That's the whole thing about it. It's supposed to be primal.
Some of us don't have nice showers.
You can't get a latte at a CrossFit gym either. You can get your little frappuccino fucking pre-workout and a little like slushy over where your gym is. I'm sure.
Oh, my gym is so bougie. There's like
I know. I'm sure they put a sheet in top where you pat your butt on the way out. They're like, "Thanks, coach." I didn't even think you were coach.
Every time
so let's get that. No, I want to hear the thoughts on developing something really because we do plan on coming out with something, and I'd love to hear your ideas on using the say as an anchor, like you know T shares or B shares or M shares.
Well,
or
that's it.
something.
You hit it right on the head there, Sam. Like, well done. So the first thing that really perked my ears up when Alex came on, he's just like, A, NFT wrap stake. And I'm like, ooh. And then from there, he said, B share. I was sold immediately. And I'm like, I like this guy a lot because he already realized the T share day is basically the heyday is over. But the B share people, they're the ones that are going to want to buy the T shares. See, so you're basically setting up the future ability of, again, 2 years. Remember, Bitcoin's what, 13 years old? 2 years is what, a sixth or an eighth of the fraction of its entire time that crypto has been evolved. Let's go back to that horse conversation. How long have we had horses? And when did horses become a luxury? 100 years ago? 80 years ago? 50 years ago? You know what I mean? It wasn't until recently that we closed that gap. That horsepower is the only time that you ever see a horse in your life. So a steam engine and caboose, it will ratchet together faster and faster because we, again, are just in the very clutch of Metcalfe's law and Moore's law, pushing against each other. So yes, they will happen. And the value of a proof of T-share is what Pulse Doge did. It's what a whole bunch of people are doing now because the engine is the T-share. It is the sun. How we encapsulate and use the energy from the sun is the most important use case because it generates trustless, constant yield, regardless. Dink, 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 dink. And as that adoption moves up, no gatekeeping, all the rest of the nonsense, hex scale comes out, fucking trust goes in. Now we've got more and more power coming on top of our sun. And so that value of a proof of T-share gets more and more better, that eventually having proof of B-share is going to be still good, right? I mean, think about like your car with what, 300 horses? You were satisfied 100 years ago to have 3, not 300.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
And that's, if you really look at the percentage there, it's probably about accurate with a lot of technologies, like a couple hundred X's before it changes the tech. Like,
so
could you?
Well, now we also have electric
Go ahead,
cars
sir.
too. There's electric cars, right? So I don't know. There's like 800 or 1,000 horsepower on the Tesla.
Those horses are crazy because it's like.
Well, no, but think about like what I was talking about with Flint, Michigan before. Once we start having solar panels on the roads that can charge your EVM cars on the go, then your interoperability of only going 300 miles without a charge will change. And then the green and all the rest of the energy use cases of using those cameras, advert for advertising, like Lamar does advertising work, just did. All those things will be in play. So it's many different cards or wrappers around that you're finalizing your deck. I'm not a poker player, but I understand the game mechanics. But like in between your draw and the river, you got these 2 little cards. You'd be like, Yahtzee, come on. But you knew what you had to start. You just didn't know what was being played in front of you. As interoperability, which is use cases binded by NFTs, smart contracts, oracles, and blockchain, and basically, what's the word I want to use? Accountability. All it is just fucking accountability. And it's pure accountability.
And that's why it works, right? And that's why we all love Hex. That's why we have Hex channels.
Just remember, DeFi is just high-speed internet. Because dial-up, you had to do the handshake. And then, like, if someone picked up the phone, you're like, but ma'am, like, it had many other variables. DeFi is the evolution of dial-up into high-speed on the radio.
It's still slow as fuck. It's slow as fuck. Ethereum's slow. Every time I do an Ethereum transaction, I gotta wait like a couple minutes.
I mean, did you remember sending a snail mail letter out?
No.
Okay.
I don't. I've never done anything. I've never written a check, Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he's never written a check before, like a paper check, like which is crazy.
I mean, I still keep checks just for rent, but I don't even do it then. But I've always just had a checkbook just for rent these days.
Every time I bought this house and they were like, "You need a check for 1%," I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about a check for?"
Well, but the thing is that it's evolution of PayPal, Venmo, because I mean, I've PayPal and Venmo my landlords. Right now, we have portals that they'll just take your bank account or your debit card or wherever anyone wants to give you money, your sugar daddy wants to pay you, boom, done. But again, that's the future that has curved in what? 10 years? Maybe 10 years? But think about how long we used to carry gold coins and throw them at things. or what was needed by to get on the river Styx, right? You're going to put 2 checkbooks on each eye, you know what I mean? Instead of 2 gold coins to get across the river Styx. So the way that we deal with the ferryman is very, very different in how that evolution happens, and it will continue to evolve faster and faster and faster. And that's inherently gravity accelerating, because that's what we're doing. Technology accentuates the gravity and the use case and the veritas of how we expose and grow. And that's the same thing again of a character's journey, is how do you start as a pauper and then end a king? Well, there's a process to that.
This is just, we talk about that because what you're describing is literally playing out in the adoption of crypto as a whole.
In real time.
It's real time, and we're at the beginning stages, relatively speaking, where this next 6 to 7 years, probably my estimates are 5 to 6 years, we're going to be over 50%. Yeah, it's good. And I cut down the growth rate by 50%, and I had 2026, 2027, 50% of the world's population in crypto.
Well, usually when I do any type of predictions, I take what I think the real number is. I divide that by 4th and then divide that in half. Just because like that's usually why I'm not wrong, because I can see where it's going. Like I can definitely fucking see where it's going. I scope down and scope down. And if you look at that level on how to hit,
that's why we're so obsessed with doing the show
man.
every
That's
day.
a giant like blimpy guy, and you never need to worry about changing your tires because it's always going to work based on what you can see on the commonality. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're going back to where I were. You were being lazy. Why would you not want to pay attention to the one thing that can literally make your financial future, your livelihood, your passion, and give back to people to do it?
I say that every day because I'm like, why do I do this show every day? It's like I'm not willing to miss anything anymore.
Honestly, I didn't realize you did it every day till like I'm still up from last night, and I'm like, I got a little bit of time, and I'm like, oh shit, you're doing this every day.
Of course, I don't want to miss anything.
What Kool-Aid's describing is in essence like the internet 2.0, but it's going to be and we hear web 3.0, where you don't need to necessarily run a business in the traditional sense, because you can just put it in 3.0, web 3.0, and to do anything you want to fucking do in your life, whether you have some ambitious goals to change the world or impact people or create this awesome thing, you can do that in a way with creativity and resourcefulness in crypto, and you don't need any of the traditional stuff. We're at the very early stages of that, but if this is going to, like 20 years ago, we had no idea of the impact and the
why 20 years, Sam. I was going to ask you a very intrinsic question, and you can use my horse's analogy to lead you to the answer. Why is it moving faster now than entire humanity?
Because of the connectedness. So we used to have silos of information. So if you picture the globe and you have these silos of information all around the world, think of like New York City.
You need to carry your pigeon to get out.
And those silos are now, there's fucking shitloads of holes in those silos, and that's bleeding across not just in the United States, it's across the whole world.
You hit it right on the head. It has nothing to do with the United States. It has to do with everywhere, because a horse will take you across the United States, but it ain't going to take you to fucking Europe. It ain't going to take you to Africa. It's not going to take you to Australia. And it's not going to do it now. So, yes, it's the horse analogy again, or the transportation use of a beast of burden. And it's really simple when you actually chump it down to these terms, because that's why we're moving faster and faster, is because people are talking more and more. And now finance is talking more and more outside of the robber barons and all the rest of that, which has evolved from different things to different things to different things. And now we, through DeFi, have a piece at the pie and the ability to learn, build, and use case against those type of things, or even build a business around it. Before that wasn't available, right?
No.
But now think about 5 years into the future.
You can't even comprehend.
Not possible,
right?
I know, I built it, so I definitely, I assure you, I fucking understand it.
But like I always tell people, like it's pretty. If anybody at 1 penny knew Bitcoin was going to be at 69,000, raise your fucking hand. Like,
or if you want to do one other fun one, I call it Apple's law. I can do Tesla's law for you too, but Apple's law is that if you look at everywhere in like early 90s, we had payphones, we had payphones, we had pagers, and we had landlines. Now, all of that was good, but we used our landline to use dial-up internet service to then download MP3s, but we had no ability to place that MP3 on anything. We had no way to talk to us after we left our house. We had to go and meet at a library. We had to do something with a map point to get to. We didn't have a way to be contacted in transit. We had to go home to get a message. Now, with the evolution of an iPod that gave you the ability to just digest now media on the go, MP3s on the go, but you still had to be landlocked to someone that had a Wi-Fi connection to get the internet. When Apple's law created the iPhone, and by the way, I'm a huge Apple hater, call them crapples, but Apple's law allowed you to get access to information, the internet, get access to telemetry data, and contact your friends at the exact same time. What happened after that? The payphone, dead. The pagers, dead. Landline, dead. All of it. Besides landline to access the internet.
And now retail's dead because of it too.
Kool-Aid, I've been covering Tesla for 10 years and I just stopped, 4 months ago when I got into crypto. So it's like for the past 10 years, been covering Tesla, all the nuanced detail over the years, listening to earnings calls, etc.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull up my random.
What you're describing.
So what is Tesla's law? Just like I explained Jobs' law. Jobs' law is he didn't actually create a phone or a computer. He created the first social parabola that allowed everyone to move, communicate, contact, and do the evolution of technology together at the same time, no matter where you are.
So okay. So Tesla, right? So we're going through two titanic shifts right now. We're going through ICE vehicles, which are internal combustion engine vehicles, to EVs, right? There's something called Wright's law. Wright's law is similar to Moore's law, but it's in relation to the aggregate output of an industry at the global level. So if the total aggregate supply is 1 million of EVs produced, what the law states is something along the lines of, as that doubles, the cost per unit drops at a constant rate.
Yep.
And you have this happening while at the same time you have shifting from dumb vehicles, dumb as in like a flip phone, to a smartphone, but we're having this happen with vehicles. So you're going to be free. And this is happening, right? Like mine drives itself. So everywhere I go, car's driving myself. Most of the time I'm actually probably doing something I probably most people wouldn't agree to do, is being on my phone. And this time that people free up unlocks the ability for people to communicate more, like you were just saying, because you couldn't, if I wanted somebody to get a hold of me, they would fucking page me, and then I have to go to somebody to try to use their phone to contact the person from the pager. This time is being unlocked, which is going to open up all sorts of crazy amount. Like think about how much time people spend in traffic versus what they could spend on building relationships, learning, growing, doing cool shit, being creative, being resourceful, sleeping, exercising in your vehicle. Like the possibilities are endless. And it's
sure. No, you just hit an interesting one on the head I hadn't thought about too immediately. But like, and again, if we want to take the Hyperloop thing that's moving faster, right? But it did save time, or having your time in your commute be on your own watch where you can do other things, whether you're cooking in your car. I mean, I'm a truck driver, you can do that, or exercising. If you actually had a big enough thing that you can do some burpees, don't hit your head, sure, do it. Little micro workouts. And then your actual commute is actually your gym time, or your read time, or your woke time, or your fucking spiritual time, your meditation woosah time.
And
because you're using the interoperability to fucking work for you. And that's the whole thing is, again, I don't have to guide the horse anymore. It just does it itself.
And they're still making people drive to work. That some jobs you don't need to be driving to work. Some you probably do, some you do not. And there's still some boomers that are like, come in to get the family vibe. And everyone's like, bro, I got 4 hours that I'm killing driving to your ass.
No. Like I when I was in LA 10 years ago, I mean, I'm out here now, but like it was an hour and a half to work and an hour and a half home. And I worked a fucking 12 to 18 hour day. Like,
yep, I drove for roughly 400 miles a day just driving around going house to house all over the suburbs, just house to house, 45-minute drive, 30 minutes. Cause I'll just go to every estimate, like if I got time,
So Sam,
and now imagine capturing that
you're
time.
a Tesla study.
That's what I'm doing right now. It's crazy.
What is well, let me pull up my doc real quick.
So
what is the most important part of not Tesla, SpaceX, or why am I forgetting the other one? Starlink. What's the most important value of Starlink, SpaceX, and Tesla?
And the Boring Company.
Boring Company's the thing that drills through for Hyperloop. But yes, let's just start with those three because the other one technically works within proxy.
Well, the easiest answer is just Elon Musk, right? Because that's the easiest piece that's involved there.
Version of it. Yeah.
Yes, but let's think about this. Okay, so you said SpaceX, right?
Sure.
Which there's drastically like a stupid margin dropping the cost to do things, to travel to space, which is going to unlock.
I'll counter you on that just because you're on SpaceX. What's the most important part of SpaceX?
Potentially.
You're going to say it's going to go up. I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
No. I think it could be Starlink. Personally,
that facilitates it. That is if you don't have a server. Go ahead.
So what do we understand right now? The ISPs are in each individual country. Some of them are international. Now, this is the customer service is garbage. Like just so much is just utter shit. And we also have these things, right? So we have one provider for this, and then we have a different provider for our house. And you have, and this is in different regions in within countries, and then they're generally segmented by country, and they're not a lot of overlap.
Correct.
Globally, so you think of the Starlink. Oh my goodness, it's going to be.
Yeah, but let's not get to Starlink. What is SpaceX's real purpose besides deploying Starlink?
The multi-planet species, like
nope. What's the fastest way to transport goods from one place to another? It's not flying in a line. It's going up, having the world rotate underneath you, and then going down.
Jesus. Do you think that's going to the cost is going to come down on that? Probably.
So let me WYSIWYG a little bit on my Tesla's law. So how does Tesla make money? A case study. Green energy credits, which offset the cost of exposure and bias, furthering Metcalfe's law on the exposure, virality, and prestige as the asset. Spearhead advertisement of new technologies by the potential to change the future. Monkey brain technology, the Boring Company, all the rest of that. But what is the core method of transactional value for Tesla? Cars, rockets, the internet? No. The transportation and storage of value. Tesla's cars transport people with futures and goods. How are they transmitting goods and services? The battery packs, green energy, all the rest. SpaceX rockets go up, but really the thing is that they're going to take things into space and then come back down to be the fastest way to transport high dollar assets. While you're up there, you're going to drop Starlink, which is the chink in the armor that the government can't see coming till it's too late. Not only is this a decentralized-ish, it's a decountrified way to access the internet. And I wrote this back in October. What has that done for the Ukraine war? Completely supersized everything on it.
You can add Boring Company to that, because what is Boring Company doing? It's doing exactly what you just mentioned. Same exact thing with the speed at which you can transport on land or potentially underwater just without being in space is doing the exact same thing.
I said that right. Transportation of storage and value. Whereas Jobs' law creates the first social paradigm. First time everyone could talk to each other and see each other little MySpace pictures and all the rest of this little nonsense that drew from my city or the next city over, because I only can drive so far, to now a world recognition. Because, I mean, even Facebook just got where it was for restricting access to only the elite. And then you build prestige on top of it. That's why the iPhone was stupid fucking expensive, because it needed that prestige value to get the interoperability. Oh, you want to have this thing or a BlackBerry or a Nokia flip phone? All right, cough up the fucking $1,000. And it's never changed because of the prestige value. Do those phones cost that? No, not at all.
Yes. I think the storage piece is going to be another one of those pieces that is is going to be almost like a secondary thing to their primary mission, that they're not going to realize that that's the thing. But they're like, on the way to Mars, one of the cool use cases we can do, because we made this so cheap to do this, reusable rockets, is we can just fly up with space. The whole thing is moving, so just come right back down and transport stuff.
But why even go to Mars and terraform it if we actually just want to fix the environment here? Right? You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, the usage of the technology does allow us to explore and sow our seeds and do all the rest of that. But having the knowledge of thermal energy and more green energy, like Make a Difference energy, Mad Energy is doing, being able to harness future tech is like being able to harness future finance, DeFi, future interoperability of communication, email, VoIPs, having a goddamn cell phone versus having to walk to a payphone and having a quarter.
But the same thing could happen interplanetary, because like that's his fucking thing.
But,
right?
Yeah, but that's the next species level of the evolution. We're looking at like stupid future tech. So, but that same methodology.
But that's going to come in the path. That's going to. I see that happening on that path to the longer journey.
Roll it back into my horses and the steam engine and the hedron conversation. You're 100% correct, because when I say 2 years for a T-share to catch up to where that steam engine was to get there, right? Train, move, caboose, go. So yes, it ratchets and moves faster, so the interoperability use case and all the rest of that can go. And at that point, now our virtual reality augmented experience between interplanetary species, spiritual species, all the rest of that is now tied into that type of meta rhythm.
Do you see that, because we all have different data sets that we're
Sure.
understanding. Do you see the premium portal to stake hex being hedron in the future, as Alex and or other people build off?
Yes, because at the end of the day, stake hex.today is analog. It is carrier pigeon. It is fax machine.
He brings this up all the time. Because you can't.
No, but the thing is that the smart contract doesn't care. It's like, do you go through your, like, I can pick up my phone, or I can go find someone in my apartment complex has a landline and remember the number in my head because it's not saved. There's no contact list when you're punching in the numbers. Let's go to a rotary dial. Cha-chunk, cha-chunk. Like, it doesn't have the feature set. You know what goes ka-chunk like that? Like a Rolodex. So you can spin your Rolodex and you can spin the dial off at the same time to like make it run.
But Kool-Aid, if you get really real with it, the people that made decisions very early on in Hex, it's just in their primal instinct to mention that staking Hex on the staking interface is going to be king to everything. When someone who's brand
no, sir, not at all. Remember, there's like 5 different redundancies. If stake Hex, it was go.hex.win when I started. Now it's just like whatever the fuck it is now. But like, I still type go.hex.win. That's what I'm trying to do. But that's just a front end. There's multiple different front ends already. Hedron gives you the same front end, but it gives you more tools. It's like screwdriver here. It's like having a fucking knife or a fork or a spoon
versus this multi-tool fucking thing.
That's exactly right. Yeah. You now have a multi-tool. So like
with Hedron.
Right. Well, again, like you can have a fork and you can have a spoon or you can have a spork. It's great. But having a multi-tool that does a lot more is better. And even if you don't use the advanced features, if you grab your multi-tool and you only use the knife on it, just so you know you did nothing. It's just like when I cut my steak up, it's delicious because I'm a fucking man. I eat my steak with a Gerber. So, but you're still using the exact same tool, aren't you? You're just not pulling anything out. And you have no concept of risk because there are immutable contracts that work on top of each other, that spin on top of each other. Again, velocity is the most important thing besides Metcalfe's law and Moore's law. They make velocity by pushing against each other. They're tectonic plates that are actually like rimming up and down that actually push the matter that makes a mountain. So like you have to look at those variables. And then if you want to go wrapping back into NFTs and all the rest of that, those are wrappers around ideal. How can you wrap your Gerber to do multiple different things? That's important.
Yeah.
The squirrel is one of my favorites, by the way. Like I'll always check out the red squirrel strategy. I may or may not have some influence on his strategies. You got homework to do, dude. You still haven't figured out where the nut is. His shit is solid.
So based upon the information that you have, it sounds like that you are very bullish on Hedron.
I'm bullish on anything that can wrap on top of a T-share and use cases to make things work. Again, most people wouldn't consider SpaceX transportational travel, but they also haven't thought about it anything less. There's a beautiful Event Horizon is one of my favorite movies, and they go through a thing. It's like, what's the fastest point in space, from A or B? No, it's to fold A and B and then move through space to actually do something. That's how you move through space faster, is folding A and B, not running like a chicken from A to B.
It's so true.
When A and B are in unison, then it works. And so what you're doing is you're using a machine that can use a machine. It's building.
That's like you're describing like warp drive, right? Because the only thing that can
you could consider it that, because that's what we will be doing as it compounds further and further and further. Again, how far did we go from sending pigeons to the Wells Fargo Express, which I had to like go deliver your mail, right? You know what I mean?
To now where we're at. Yes, exactly.
I mean, at the end of the day, how long till drones are going to be delivering your packages instead of UPS? Because the power to charge the drone will probably be cheaper than the gasoline, as the batteries and the use case of absorbing the power becomes easier. Let's go back to Flintopia. Do you think that they've been delivering things, not EVM cars or drones? Because drones need power, and you're generating all that power in from the roads just as a simple way, not even doing solar farms, just every goddamn road. And then from there, all the traffic telemetry data will tell the drones on where to go and what's going on with everything, because you have all your cars. Like, again, you say you should, as a retired truck driver, you should always probably have a hand on the wheel. I don't give a fuck. I've seen way too many accidents in my day. Like, I mean, it's like Jim Rat talking about like heart problems. Like, I've seen some crazy shit on the road. But I'm saying that at the end of the day, your car's cameras recording onto the internet will give all the interoperability for whatever's going on in the sky in real time. It's Skynet shit, or Minority Report.
It's going to be a crazy.
It's fascinating as fuck.
It is fascinating. Because you have these the thing happening with Tesla. So people, like, everything is going to be operated electrically with a battery source of something. Like, your lawnmowers are going to be doing this, boats are going to be doing this. Any type of weed cleaning shit around the house. Golf carts are already there.
It's
boats,
the Internet of
airplanes.
Things 2.0. Because
I need weed killer that works. I need weed killer that works. What
do you mean? Dying. You just gotta do squats more. Do you just go down, squat, pull up the fucking weeds, and go? I mean, it's free workout, and you fucking get
my yard's too big. My yard.
I mean, just like do burpee and grab it with your teeth and pull back up, and you're good. It's good.
I don't want the dogs that run. I live on the corner of a neighborhood, so all the dogs walk around my yard. And
now you're giving me a shitty example on why you don't want to pick up shit.
Yeah. That's a good idea. They don't shit in my yard though. I'm too reckless.
Because you're doing clearly burpees in the fucking grass and scare them away. Yeah, that tiger fucking asked for a knuckle.
They see me walk out of the house and rip the bong, and they're like, "Let's poop somewhere else."
This is probably crazy.
Yeah, the chances of this dude being silly is.
Like, I mean, if you want, just get a fucking vacuum and turn it on and charge, and they'll fucking run. So.
That would be a funny video.
I'm telling you, it'd probably work.
Well, so what is the let's wrap things up here, because I think this has been an awesome conversation. I like the different perspective that you brought and shared today. Where do you see things like going? Because if you even try to say over the next 5 years, we know we're going to be wrong, because people are going to be creative things. But say over the next like 6 to 12 months, even 12 months would be challenging, because the veracity at which shit is happening is challenging to come up with these ideas. But where do you see some interesting trends or things that you see like playing out?
Well, let me counter, because like most people can't like follow exactly what I say. How long would you say the trend was between AOL was a fringe case to do something, to how you can't even exist if you don't know how to log into your bank on a cell phone, or you can't even exist if you don't know how to use simple Gmail, or you can't even exist if you don't understand what LinkedIn is or anything like that on a professional level? What would be that scope of time for you?
As a professional?
Well, I mean, like, so I'm 40, I assume, 47, something like that?
37.
There's no fucking you looking
You're good.
fantastic. But like you have that like I'm an adult, I fucking kicked ass fucking looking. So like I like it. I like it. But like so like you're even younger than me. So that means that my answer will be even more meaningful because you came up as a kid. So I started phone freaking when I was 12, fucking doing crazy ass hacking stuff like back in Windows 95, like all the rest of that stuff. How quickly have we evolved in your time frame where you're just like, whoa. I mean, granted, I have big man fingers and I can't stand millennials that can like text that fast because I'm like, it's my thumbs that much bigger, or like, why does it not slam right? Different age.
I mean, less than I say 20 years, and I want to be conservative on this because people like my mom, she still doesn't use internet banking, right? And she still doesn't use like Gmail on a regular basis.
Correct.
Or things like that. So 20 years is like, you know, if you figure late 90s.
It's an epoch.
Right?
It's an epoch because we've moved so much faster because we can communicate. No more horses, right? That's the whole thing. It's like now we're moving faster because we can communicate faster, deal with faster, learn faster. So if 20 years between your parents and mine, like epoched, and we're moving faster and faster. So what would you say the next age would be?
I mean, I had to cut the growth rate down because I think it's going to be stupid. And it just sounds absolutely ridiculous when you think of crypto to 50% of the world being on crypto. Like I cut it down by 50% and I have 2026
and divide by 2 again, right? Remember, take that crazy number and then cut half. You're never fucking wrong. Yes, sir. But what's the answer?
Okay. So if that was the case, then it would be by like 2031 ish or something like that. 2029, we're going to be at over 50% of the world population in crypto.
No, like 50% of the world in crypto, in augmented reality, virtual reality, interoperability, all use cases will be doing that. If you are if you're 55 and you don't figure this stuff out, you will be usurped. You will literally be a bum on the side of the street. You will literally be someone having a sign that says "Help, Veteran Homeless." It's like because you didn't learn how to use a fucking smartphone. Or the use cases to build your weight into this future system, right?
While
the
they out
inflate, answer is probably about 3 to 4 years.
While they out inflate any earnings you can make, like for those people are kind of unaware, they're just like, you know, it's all normal, it's all good to go. Inflation, you know, it's happened in the 70s.
They didn't even understand what fiat is, more or less inflation.
Those people lose 20% of their net worth in inflation, and they just wouldn't care because they're like.
So those are the same type of people that don't know how to change their tire and then bitch about someone else changing their tire, holding them up.
Do you would casually right there, you said 3 to 4 years. What is that 3 to 4? Is that the representation of 50% of the world population being crypto?
Well, 50% of the world people using some interoperability to connect themselves fiscally, financially, universally, and utilitarian like. I mean, fuck, CBDC is trying to do a fucking Fed coin.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I know you get it.
Well, when's the last time that you took a rake and shook the money tree and got your fiat dollars and walked to the bank and be like, I got these stacks of Benjamins? You didn't. We've been paid digitally this entire time. Ever since direct deposit went, we basically alleviated the bank run because there's no fucking fiat to use. Mm-hmm. There is no actual physical cash, and that's why it's worthless and debased down. Also due to the fact that gold standard got removed. I mean, like the whole in war in Russia is really personal to me, but like, or in Ukraine, but like the reason that the ruble is the best currently fiat in currency, even with all the sanctions, is they restated back to gold.
I saw that.
No, I know, but like it doesn't make. If you've listened to at least 15 hours of Wales, you would have figured this out. That rewrapping it into a commodity that actually has stable weight versus inflation of mind bubbles, clearly it can deal with your mind bubble sanctions because they don't have as much drill down.
What a baller move. I saw that and I was like, fucking, he's already a
I mean, I've got a very personal, complicated relationship with this war, but like, again, just like I think crap suck, I can still do an objective version of Jobs' law. So
okay, so given this, the speed is every day increasing, and the speed of everything we're doing is increasing. So you believe that the interoperability and crypto in general is for 50% of the world population. You're believing probably in the 3 to 4 year mark.
Let me ask you, Sam, how many people have been doing work on Teams, Slack, Discord, and all the rest of that since the pandemic had?
Yep.
How many?
A decent portion of the population.
Most. And now most don't want to go back to work because it's clearly
better.
able to have. Elon just started laying off people that aren't going to work and all the rest of the stuff with recession, great reset. But like the difference is that we've shown for 2 years that we don't technically have to drive into an office.
Yes.
Now, granted, there are huge benefits to going into a water cooler and actually giving someone a high five and go after work to work out with someone and have
create that.
But there's huge benefits in the opposite side too.
Correct.
Not going to work, the independence, like for all you know, I'm fucking naked, like below the level, you know what I mean? Like tremendous
Agreed.
freedom that has a lot of value. And we know, if you understand value, that people's value can be thought of as a shifting thing that goes around, right? And people value things at different moments in time to a different degree of things. So you can see freedom of time, the independence to go just make lunch for 30 minutes and your own time. You're going to go take a shit. You're going to do whatever you need to do and just have that ability to do that. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm going to go to the beach in the middle of the day and just come back and work at nighttime. That freedom is potentially over-indexing on that value piece because people have never had that or have felt that they've never had that.
The
so now they
second
get a
I
taste
quit
of
my
it.
job, that value prop just wasn't there anymore. And I was making
Yeah, but it's still like, well, what he's saying though is the value is intrinsically what it is and how it evolves too. People can complain about something or you can be a victim or a victor. Both have the same, a hexacan or a hexacant, right? You know what I mean? The NT on the end is the problem because you do not think that value is worth your time to learn. So inherently, as we evolve more into a digital aspect of a community, as we have more technology inputs that allows us to future into these digital mind frames, digital work, digital everything. I mean, look at like Microsoft HoloLens, right? $4,000 for this little fucker. But like you're doing a surgery and you can go like Wick Minority Report and bring up everyone's like the entire both anatomy, physiology, complications, all the rest of that in real time, in front of you, in a HUD while you're doing a surgery. What do you think it's going to push modern medicine to be able to accomplish without the need of multiple assistants or like multiple deaths or like many different stages? Like you have to look at there's a movie called The Surrogate, and it's where like this dude walks into another body essentially, and as you rapid that ideal up, how long do you think the difference between your body and another person is? What was the connection in between the Matrix world and the real world? What the one in the Nebuchadnezzar? Immediate. And we're going to come to that point that immediateness is already right here. Right? You know what I mean? We already get like, we were talking earlier about Twitter Spaces and someone calls your phone when you're hosting the thing and the whole thing goes down because it's bad UI. But like, as those things get fleshed out, these things will change. But I would say the rate we are going, I mean, 5 years is a long time if we look at where we've come from till now. Because what did I start this thing with? Horses.
Okay, so real quick, just to give it a tiny bit of context here. So I've looked at the adoption curves of technology. You name it, it follows a fucking adoption curve that looks like an S. Every adoption curve follows an S. And if you look at those, say from 100 years ago versus say over the last 40 years, the S has tilted, which indicates the speed of adoption is increasing. And then when you layer that on over the next 5 years and you look at what's happened over, from 0 to today, 13 years later for crypto, and you're like, damn, 3.5% of the world population's in crypto in 13 years. And you understand how an adoption curve works. You're like, holy fuck, people have no idea what is going to take place over the next 5 years.
Well, that's why I gave you the horses example at the beginning. What is the most basic primal human commodity? Beasts of burden, transportation, value, tithing, use case, and you can fucking eat it too. You don't even need to cannibalize on your fucking neighbor. You can eat the horse. But like at the end of the day,
I went straight to the killing of my friends and eating them.
But at the end of the day, you look at how quick that happened. We had horses, beasts of burden, whatever the fuck, thousands of years. within the last 100 years, we have lost them. And now that technology is inserted in, be it machinery, agriculture advancements, all the rest of it. Look what aqueducts did way back in the day to bring fresh water into Rome. And now how water theoretically could be used more prominently for many, many other things. So it just hasn't been the stickiness to do it. So it's really fascinating to look at these curves and how they fold on top of each other. But what you have to look at is gravity, or what I call gravitas, the way it becomes visceral and moved and visceral and moved. I take the example that if you have a seesaw and you have two trampolines on the end of it, and you have a fat kid and a skinny kid, and if you take the skinny kid and he jumps it up a little bit, the fat kid barely moves, but he has more weight, so he pushes the skinny kid up higher. Now the skinny kid has velocity, so he pushes the fat kid up higher. And as you run with that kind of ecosystem, you can take fat kid and skinny kid into fat bags and skinny bags. Because as the fat bags push down, you get the skinny bags has more velocity to crush back down and then push the fat man up. It's an equilibrium that allows those things to do. And that's technically bonded liquidity or hard fall, theoretically.
You kind of have to let go and understand the information to capture a lot of that value too, because it is a very dense, and it'll mess your mind up if you think about some subsets of like the charts, for example. Like if you stare at chart every single day and wonder which move's going to go which way, you're going to overcrush your brain to the point where you can't really think of the big picture. But just like what Axis was saying, we love to discuss like interoperability and just like the future of things. Like I'm not super concerned with like where everyone in this chat like puts their money directly. I just know the future of tech, and I know we're in immutable technology here, which is really what changed it for me. Like once I figured out that this stuff was immutable, and once I figured out that it couldn't be stopped or changed.
Here's the one thing about being immutable. What's level 2 of immutability?
Ethereum nodes?
Nope. What's the level up of immutability?
I could see a world where everybody, the usability to create in 3.0 is at a dummy level, as in like being able to modularly build a website with like those Ys, or there's like a bunch of websites that allow you to modularly just put together a website, and 46 minutes later you have a beautiful looking website. So
sure, Wix or something like that. Yep.
Yeah, Wix is a good name. Thank you. And that could be the next stage, because then imagine if everybody was able to take that creative, resourceful nature of being human and apply that in a way that is user friendly in an immutable way. The shit that could be created wouldn't even, you couldn't even grasp. Right now we have the distillation of these silos of information, and this is taking place right now. We're having this communication. We're all in different spots of the world, and this is happening at a faster and faster rate. Now imagine the ability for people to create, the barriers to entry to that dropped. Holy fuck, the shit that people could create. Damn.
Like
if you create shortcutting, and indestructible is good, but uncorruptible is the answer. Because when something's immutable, it can't be corrupted or sideways. That's the problem that socialism had. It was socialism for not the poor and everyone. It's the reason that capitalism is bad, because capitalism for the rich. If you ain't rich, it ain't worth anything to you. At the end of the day, comparative the leaps and bounds that wealthy people can acquire more wealth due to capitalistic tendencies,
it's thousands times faster than working.
So, like at the end of the day, yes, someone may have more tokens or influence, but the influence is weighed in only kind of how they can use them. It's not corruptible. And as you get real, the thing is that real hex technically is real trickle down fucking economics, because the OA is actually getting devalued as everything else happens because it's not staking. So it's real trickle down capitalism. Woo. But really it's also not corruptible. And that's why a thing like an OA can exist, as long as someone you trust never presses the nuclear button. That's also why we have nuclear bombs. It's a deterrent of a football of threat to make other people not threat to press the button. So the uncorruptibility will lead to more uncorruptible interoperability, which, as you were saying, would give people WYSIWYG ways to develop things that allow them to cog together and then have it be, again, a machine that works. How many horsepower do you have in your machine?
This is going to be so crazy. I'm excited because there's going to be things that I can't even comprehend today that are going to be launched, that are going to be immutable, that you can't fuck with, like you're saying. And it's going to be such a beautiful time because so much, this stuff is going to happen so lightning fast. Like it's going to be faster and faster and faster and faster, and people will not be able to keep up. Like you mentioned, if you're not starting to slightly try to grasp this stuff that's happening, you're literally going to be left on the side of the road while everybody else is into the promised land or whatever the fuck your thing is. And you're just going to be sitting out there with your fucking thumbs twiddling them, like don't know what to do with your life.
Did you ever go to Epcot when you were a kid? Okay, they had this thing in the giant dome before they rebranded it. And it was the last thing, and they had the whole flying cars thing. And I mean, shit, that must have been built in 60s, 70s. They promised us flying cars. And as we have interoperability to scan the skies, use an Oracle and Dow to record all the data, the telemetry, where everything's flying, and as these little machine like Wallies are running around, they know where they are, and they can like basically move around each other. Because the problem right now is you have a drone that flies next to an airport, it'll fuck up some pilots. Like LAX was just like, oh no, there's a rocket man fucking on a jetpack again. It's because you have human error involved in that. But once you have uncorruptible interoperability, you can harvest that to fast track it to a next level sequence. That's why you can't go from running to being on a hyperloop or in a bullet train. There's stages of evolution. I mean, most people don't realize that technically a nuclear reactor is just a glorified steam engine. It's still hot water heating shit up, but it's using radiation to actually fuel the steam engine. There is no goddamn difference between a steamboat, a steam engine on a train, and a nuclear reactor, except more plugs or the hedron, more technology on top of the wrapping asset of heating water to turn turbines to make power. It's still the damn same. Just like having an HSI stake is like basically having a hex stake, except it gives you tools in the Leatherman. Just like a nuclear reactor can produce more energy based on watt value because it is an upgraded version of itself.
This is interesting. I've gained a much better appreciation for Hedron by going through this conversation, because I like Hedron, and I like the you can tell how good the perception is among people's minds of something when shit gets built around it. And
exactly.
If you use the iPhone like you were talking about, there's multiple million or multi-million-dollar businesses that were built as a byproduct or derivative of the iPhone, whether it was something to do with cases, whether it's something to do with software, whether it's a information type business or YouTube channels, like blogs, all that fucking shit was built around there. And then you see hacks, and then you see this project launch, and then you see this project launch, and they're tied in with hacks, right? Whether it's Maxi or Team Base, Hedron, like the dog.
So the difference between, just in case, so if anyone's watching is new, Hedron is a caboose on a steam engine, right? But that doesn't mean a problem. That means you just got in early and you get to capture those zeros before it shoots up. Maxi's like, what is it? A fucking cow swoop on a truck or something like that. It's a forward-leading indicator for what will come. So you have to look at like what those variables are, those secret sauces that they're doing, and then understanding the mechanics or the systemic design on how they work. But that's the one thing, the difference between each other. Hedron is a shadow of a T-share. Maxi is a forward indicator of a whale max stake at that exact point in time that we know T-shares only go up and to the right. So like those, again, are just mechanics. They're things that are built as cogs on top of the wheel as it goes around. Now, the most important part of a wheel is the center yoke, but it needs the spoke to make everything else work. Otherwise, it would flatten on top of itself.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, there was a couple of people that asked the same question. I ask everyone the same question before we wrap up.
I'm not even looking at the chat. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it wasn't either.
It's
But
good.
go.
No, don't worry.
Good conversation.
What do you think? When do you think? How long do you think this bear market can last as far as sideways action, and how low do you think Bitcoin and Hex can go before we start, finding a floor at some point?
Okay. Well, so if you go ahead, Sam, what do you think?
No. I want to
Yeah,
hear
me
your
and Sam
opinion.
asked this
We've talked
question
about this
to
many
everyone.
times.
Yeah,
I can literally talk forever. I did do outbound telemarketing for 5 years.
please.
So,
this is
if you
important.
really think about it, Richard's calls on 10.5 or 11K have now been iterated amongst many of other people. So I think we will be close to that. But if you actually look at DEX screeners and look at, because the liquidity got pulled. Remember, Hart's Law, and also the juicy perfect liquidity is how you cook something right. When you turn to, let's say you're cooking a Thanksgiving turkey, do you turn it to 200 on your oven, or do you turn it to like 600? You need the sweet spot in the liquidity to make it work. Now, we know that liquidity has been pulled because you really don't want to be in the LP market during the fork, and we don't know when the fork's going to be. Nebulous. And then all the traders that were fucking around and the dumpers dumping down, that's ratcheting the system. But if you look at DEX strainers right now, it doesn't take a lot of money at all to move it half a cent. In fact, I was posting in my private signal groups. I'm just like, it's wild just to watch it, because it's just like $20,000 can move at fucking half of a penny. But it's because the liquidity is in so removed. And then I was looking something. Again, I'm supposed to be working. I had a whole bunch of stuff. That's why I hit you up. And I'm like, I got a couple hours. But like, someone pulled an entire pool, I believe, off of like Hex Whalebot might have shed it. I haven't got a chance to poke around in it yet because I was doing my homework to listen to you guys from yesterday. But the more the liquidity gets pulled, the more it could go down. But fat kid, skinny kid, trampoline. You have to think about mechanics, not baby ass shit. Because if those liquidity gets pulled, it makes the strain on the the seesaw trampoline that much harder. So yes, it can go down just as quick, but it can ratchet up fuck ton faster. And I do think that Richard's playing multiple different cards of poker at this point, because I think that he wants to launch at the most premium price performance. I do believe he's probably working on extra features while he's waiting for when he feels his call is going to be, because why the fuck not? Again, I said earlier, in the gaming industry, it's good enough to get past cert. We call it ship it, because at some point you just can't spend any more hundreds of hours on something that's going to do absolutely nothing to your value. but
now you have the opportunity to launch at the armpit of the market, like the best
Right.
possible fucking time.
Well, let's take it right now. So right now we're at like 5.
5 cents or something.
Yeah, 5 cents. So like if Bitcoin goes down 50%, and we also know that we're not technically correlated to Bitcoin, and most of our USDC back in the golden era was USDC, but because liquidity got pulled, all the rest of this got pulled. You have to think about what happened. Your tools went from a multi-tool, a Gerber, now back down to a spork and maybe just a spoon. But why a spoon, cousin? Because it'll hurt more, you twit. So if you really think about it, the tools are getting a little more primate because we're waiting in anticipation for this thing, right? Gravity builds in and explodes. That's how you get like a black hole to a fucking exploding dwarf in a star, or the other way around, right? So we're boom is about to happen. But again, how could you have that pull and not understand looking at Jobs' law and how that little fucking iPod would turn into the crux that killed all Ma Bell, all payphones, all pagers, the library, all the rest of that shit. Because now, all I need is here.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a great.
So, but again, like, if you want like a price prediction, that shit's stupid. You should never ask someone a price prediction. You should ask the mechanics. Because again, anyone that uses the word alpha or game theory, come play with me. I will literally eat you alive, because you don't need. Let me ask you both. Trick question. What is game theory?
I don't know. My brain's pooped at this point.
Nah. If you're going to be pooping, you're going to do burpees back into your lawn and make sure.
What is game theory? Game is explaining something.
Yeah, but you were all piss and vinegar yesterday that people are going to give you alpha if they don't sleep and they don't eat right.
Well, no. Well, I mean, some people, obviously. There's always 1% of people that outperform the 99%.
Man, it's all about mentality. Anyway, game theory, realistically, is mechanics divided by systemic design times social consensus. Let me explain this to you really quickly. If you take the game of chess, you have pieces. Each pieces have mechanics, and you have this checkerboard or the board. So you have the mechanics of the pieces and the systemic design of the board itself. Well, what if you change the mechanics of the pieces? You go from chess to checkers, right? Piece goes forward, and then maybe it gets to come back. A little bit simpler of a game. And that's why when people think that they're checker people, they're pleb people, that they think they're playing chess, they're actually playing backgammon. Because if you change the board or the systemic constraint, a checker can only go forward, charge, right? But a checker in backgammon only goes to the right, charge. Technically, it's forward. That's the difference between going when you're driving, you tell you go straight. No, the answer is go forward, because you can't be like turn right and they say right and you say left, right? So the thing is, like turn left, they say right and then left. The answer to that is correct. Turn left, correct, because right and left are technically directions, whereas right is a confirmation of something else. So when you're dealing with chess, checkers, and backgammon, all that air quote game theory is also divided or at times social constraint. So Sam understands these things and he's playing with me. Scott, you understand these things, you're playing with me. But we both understand the same mechanics. So that means I have to divide my ability to understand the mechanics and social design based on what you are going to do. That's true game theory. And that's what most people that talk all the GP alpha, they can't even explain that. I have not seen a goddamn single person on a crypto channel ever tell me what real game theory is, but they want to give alpha like they just learned that's the first letter of the alphabet. Good for you.
It's interesting learning, because everybody's going to have their own POV of what they think, what they believe the truth is around things. But it's a fancy way of describing like social interactions or how people are going to fucking interact with this set of rules. Like,
aren't you a fighter? I think I was listening earlier. I was doing my homework before Dan, but that's the whole thing is if you're a fighter, you're going to take ticks and cues on how someone's moving to either dodge or react to whatever's going on. Right. So like that's the social consensus part. Social consensus. The systemic design, is this guy bigger or smaller than me? Does he have more reach? Do I have to wait for his swing to move that I can now like come in and like check in? And the mechanics is how fast am I? What are our stats to be able to do those things in between each other? You could actually apply systemic game design to anything. Boggles my mind.
And they just, was it Robert Nash or whoever was like, whenever they decided to call it fucking game theory, is right. Like it was already out there. People were already studying it, but then it's the person that's able to capture that and put it
break
into
it down
a framework. It's, hey, this is the framework we're going to use. We're going to call it.
You got to be really open minded too when you think like that. Like you can't.
Well, it's also a very beautiful mind too. So you're like dealing with like rational numbers and constraints, but it's also very lucid. Where ideally, Queen's Gambit versus MMA or whatever. They're capoeiras. Let's not even do fighting because capoeira is a dance. It's not actually a fight. You can use it for that, but I mean, I spin fire. Trust me, if I charge you with a fire sword or a giant dragon staff, you probably would not worry about fighting me. You'd run because a bitch has fire. So, like, you know what I mean? Because that's a leveled up mechanic that you are not prepared to deal with. Be like, you got fire, I running. Right? It's kind of like you see Freddy Krueger or some fucking like weird creepy thing. Be like, I really don't want to box you. I'm out.
I think this is a good time to wrap up. Has anyone talked to Bullish today? It's rare that he doesn't communicate. So
I'm technically not supposed to be talking to anyone. I just happen to still be up, and I'm like, you do this dumbass show way early in the morning, which is like in between my 3 hours of sleepy sleep. So it's like 4 a.m. to like 8 a.m. is when like I guarantee I get to shut my eyes and to pretend like I'm alive. And I'm just like, oh fuck. Oh, come on.
Well, I appreciate very much you texting me, letting me know that you were able to come on the show.
It was fun. You guys have a great talk because it's not necessarily about crypto, but it's about mindsets. Mindsets is the most important thing. The other counter to that are mind bullets. It is the slow death that will consume you. Never be stopped by mind bullets.
Tremendously. So this has been awesome. I like the unique perspective on the way you see the world, because it's I always enjoy conversations when I enjoy conversation in general, but specifically when somebody has a different point of view or just unique in a way that it allows you to expand or just see things through somebody else's eyes. And I think you did that really well, at least in my opinion, for me. So thank you. Acknowledge you for that. Appreciate you coming on. GRC, you want to say anything else? If you guys enjoy the show, check out the links down below.
Like and subscribe, and then I'll leave you with one last quote in the, what is it? Homer, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Say that one more time.
In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And
with that,
you son of a bitch, Sam. Don't click the buttons.
I'm not doing anything.
How?
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart.
Bought my hex from the fucking start. .1 every day we mark. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pull chains out and they'll get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died collect. Hex I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this post, I ain't letting go. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hair restart. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart.